Hi, Edward. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation for this interview today. First of all, could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Edward Lim. I'm the Business and Entrepreneurship Librarian at the University of Connecticut. I'm kind of in a strange space right now because I'm actually seated on the floor. I'm in the staff lounge because I've been running around this morning. So it's nice to just take a big break and do this little recording. I guess I would say that I am interested in entrepreneurship. I'm also interested in professional development. I serve as the information coordinator for the continuing professional development and workplace learning section at IFLA, International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions. A bigger background about myself. I'm originally from Singapore, born and raised. I did my university studies there. I did my master's in information studies at Nanyang Technological University. That's where I worked as well. And then I had the opportunity in 2017 to move to Shanghai, China, to work for New York University, Shanghai. And that was a wonderful opportunity. And I was very fortunate that, I had the opportunity to pursue and find employment here in the United States. So I'm now at Connecticut. I'm a father to 3 boys. There's the 4th one coming. It's going to be a girl. That's a bit about myself, I guess. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And I would like to know that in your library, as a business librarian, what kind of entrepreneurship services you are providing for your users? Right.
So I believe entrepreneurship, it's fairly important here at UConn. As you can see, it's in my job title. So the university is organizing many opportunities, many programs, many activities for the students at different levels. So how I kind of see my role in this, fairly large, I call it the UConn entrepreneurial ecosystem, is to try to reach out to students who I feel are kind of underserved, kind of like, not they're forgotten, but they're underserved, that we don't reach out enough to them. So one of the areas of populations that I've identified are students who don't see themselves as entrepreneurs. So it's kind of interesting, right? So, students who might be doing something on the side, trying to make some money to pay for their school fees. They may be baking muffins or they may be babysitting. But yeah, the idea is really, trying to reach out to these students and let them know that there are many resources available at the library. They can help them. But also, being a connector, connecting them to other opportunities within the university that can support their entrepreneurship journey. That's something that I try to work a lot on. Something I've kind of found success recently is creating this kind of self-paced activity. So it's a very simple kind of like online activity that I do on LibWizard. And it's to introduce anyone, students or anyone, to market research. So, many times when we want to be an entrepreneur, we are thinking about market size, we are thinking about what's the market that I want to reach out to. And the library has access to many of these market research, so I think this provides a good understanding to students who need to be, who need to be aware of there are these resources out there for them. Yeah.
Well, impressive services you are providing. It's really great. And I would like to know that what kind of skills do you think that, especially as you are working as a university librarian for providing entrepreneurship services?
I when I kind of took up this position, it wasn't new to me. I've been supporting entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial students in my previous positions, but this was the first one that had entrepreneurship in my job title. So I did feel a bit lost, but it's interesting because it's a little bit different from academic research support that we provide. I looked at what other entrepreneurship librarians are doing, and I found that one of the things that is useful is being able to facilitate and get students to be aware of what I call business experiments. So they are kind of like your experiments in the science labs or in the engineering, but the idea is to be able to prototype, to be able to get feedback from your customer base and things like that. I think that's a skill that we don't talk about enough as a librarian. We don't feel like we are qualified to do it, but actually, it's just awareness that we want to bring to the students. Something that I feel kind of strongly about is getting students or entrepreneurial students to think about what they need from an informational perspective. I think many times they are very focused on their product or on their service, that they kind of neglect to think about who are the information producers, and the fact that information is not free, right? If you're out there in the working world, you got to pay for your market research reports and things like that. So I think bringing that kind of perspective in really helps the students realize that, hey, I'm not the only one who's doing this. There are resources out there. There are people that I can work with, that I can learn from, but there are also resources out there. Some are paid, some are free. But the idea that information will help them be better entrepreneurs, yeah.
Thanks a lot, yes, for this useful information. And Edward, I would like to know that how we can train our LIS, Librarian Information Science students, to become as entrepreneurs to this society. As you know, we are lack of employments these days in many societies.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting question, because we traditionally don't equate librarians or LIS with entrepreneurs. So I'm going to kind of steal from, I used to support the Nanyang Technopreneurship Center back in Singapore, and I think they had a really excellent way of sort of doing this. A lot of the students were, they might not necessarily be entrepreneurs, but they are part of their family businesses, or they plan to go back into the family business. And many of them were working in organizations as well. And I think what the center wanted to do was to promote the entrepreneurial spirit, a type of entrepreneurial thinking. And one of the concepts that I was introduced to at the point in time was being an intrapreneur, right? Somebody who seeks to innovate within the organization, within the library. I think these are kind of like the skills or the thinking that we can kind of promote in library schools. I guess there's no more library schools, informational schools, and then being able to sort of teach them about business experiments, how to facilitate that, the idea that minimum viable product, being willing to experiment, being okay with failing and trying again. I think in the business world, in entrepreneurship, you always kind of pivot from the original idea that you have. And I think we should bring that same approach whenever we are doing programming activities at the library as well. If it doesn't work, we try something else. There's no shame in that. And I guess something we can learn from the entrepreneurship world is how can we sort of charge, right? How can we get funding for the library, for the wonderful activities that libraries do? That's something that, I didn't learn in library school. I hope they teach that in the library school now. But I think that's a valuable skill set as well.
Thanks a lot. And my last question is about impact of holding international events, as we are engaged in holding international conferences on entrepreneurship and libraries. So I would like to know that what will be the impact on our libraries or librarians and professionals from LIS?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Entrepreneurship Libraries Conference, ELC Entrelib. So I took part in the 2021. That was the first time I took part, and I really learned a lot from what other librarians are doing, around. And I took really a lot of ideas from them. They were doing great activities. So that's something personal for me in the sense that's why I want to give back and help to organize this round. And I guess something that I learned in the process of organizing such a conference is that, many librarians do not have entrepreneurship in their job titles, but they are involved in some kind of entrepreneurial activities. Being able to recognize that, acknowledging that it's an effort. Like it takes time to be able to be aware, to recognize that fact that actually they are reaching out to certain entrepreneurial activities out there. I think that was the vision of the conference, trying to bring together people who support entrepreneurial activities around the world in libraries. And I think there will be more and more of such recognition that librarians themselves will recognize that they are contributing to the economy of their communities. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Edwards, for this great information and for your valuable time for this interview. Yes, thanks a lot.
Thank you for your time. I just